The second half of 2023 has been bringing forth intense planetary energy exhibited by numerous planets in retrograde motion simultaneously, which is causing an accumulated sense of hopelessness and hurdles for all. These chain of events began with Saturn going retrograde, and this year will end with Jupiter being retrograde, as well as Rahu and Ketu going into a new phase of energies for the next 18 months that will rewrite our wins and challenges in that duration. Hi lovely viewers, and welcome back to the channel. In this video we will be discussing how the accumulated effect of all the retrograde planets will be changing the direction of our lives in the second half of the year of 2023, and also how these energies are influencing all zodiac signs in the month of September. We are having a simultaneous stream of challenging or at least confusing planetary energies which are causing most of us to have doubts and fears regarding the path our lives have been taking currently in terms of work, self-image, relationships and finances. But rather than this being a cautionary tale or a scare tactic, let us look at the positive connotations of how we can productively utilize these varying planetary energies so that we can achieve the best results possible by working along with these energies as opposed to working against them. Let us begin with analyzing these energies holistically first on a world's prediction basis to understand how all of us are cumulatively being affected and impacted by these retrograde energies in tandem being played. So let us start by understanding first how Venus retrograde has impacted all of us during this period of its duration of retrogression. And we have seen that there has been a major spike in the sort of breakdowns that have happened in long-term marriages for various celebrities that we have seen, and also it might have trickled down into your lives in some ways possible. And this is why, because Venus is significatory of love and relationships in astrology, as well as it also signifies money. And we have also seen how money and its value is being impacted right now with the threat of a looming recession. And we can see that the trader who had predicted the 2008 financial crisis has right now bet against also the economy failing and a recession hitting during either the end of 2023 or the beginning of 2024, and a lot of analysts have also backed up these claims. So we see that Venus retrograde is causing such a havoc right now when it comes to either be its significations of relationships or even its significations of money. And this is also further shown by the fact that recently Moody downgraded the US banks, and this has led to a major uncertainty in the credit market for US as well as all the other beneficiaries. And this is a major step right now which can actually predict the kind of downfall or the crash that might happen in a lot of financial markets. And this was also a pattern which happened in 2011, and this was specifically discussed in a video where we compared how Jupiter transit in Aries, kind of events which took place in the previous time that Jupiter entered Aries in 2011, and how those similar themes can be seen to be repeating right now. We can clearly see in that video, where it has been discussed at length, that during 2011 there was this similar way where Standards and Poor's had reduced or downgraded the credit rating for the US banks, and this had led to global markets and stock markets being crashed. When it also comes to the fact that the planet Jupiter recently went into retrograde, we also discussed in the video where at length we compared what events had taken place in 2011 and what events took place in 2023. We had predicted the fact that there could be major astrological advancements and breakthroughs that might happen during this time period, as we discussed what kind of events had taken place in 2011. And we saw that during just before that we had hit the mark for Jupiter going retrograde, the great news of India actually going through the Chandrayaan 3 into the south node of the moon. This is specifically again as discussed in the video, which will be linked in the description box as well as on the upper right hand side on the I button as well. And when we go on to the next development, we have seen that during this time period when Sun has gone into Leo and Saturn has been retrograde in Aquarius, there has been a direct impact that has taken place with these planets. And because the Mercury retrograde right now is conjunct with Sun, we see there's this tussle between Sun signifies your king or your ruling governments in today's age, and Saturn signifies your subordinate class or the kind of people who serve your governments are basically going at it when it comes to basically having protests against the kind of ideals or the kind of policies or the kind of leaders that are currently in power. And also when it comes to the G20 event which is taking place currently in India, there have been protests even against that, and the majority of political leaders were attending that event as well. This time around, it has not had as severe an impact as it had the previous year in opposition, because at that time, as you can see in the video, majority of the political leaders in power had to resign because of varied reasons. And this is why, these kind of understandings and these kind of patterns to see from an astrological lens gives us an idea of how everyday events are being influenced and are basically being regarded to us energetically by the planetary energies which are taking place, and the transitions and the retrogrades which are taking place during this month, as well as for the elongated period of time until the end of this year. So after taking impacted all of us cumulatively, let us discuss how individually all of these retrograde energies will be impacting each of the zodiac signs, and starting off with for you, since Jupiter and Rahu have been in your sign this year, you have been experiencing a higher focus on matters related to self-worth and identity, as well as your general purpose and direction in life. You have been contemplating and working on yourself in order to become a better version of yourself, be it through educating yourself by gaining knowledge on religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs, or even upskilling yourself to expand horizons of your income and monetary profit. But as Jupiter goes retrograde and Rahu moves on ahead soon, leaving your sign, you will start to experience doubts or fears with regard to the efficiency of your learnings and exploration. You are going to be questioning your beliefs, morals, and ideals in relation to how you associate your identity with these concepts. You can feel like the education you have undertaken is not reforming your outlook or perspective in a way that you would like it to, which can be dejecting. But what you must remember is that no effort goes waste or unnoticed. Rahu moving into your 12th house and Ketu into your 6th house shows that these nodes are going to be moving you towards surrendering to the process of spiritual liberation and peace without being hyper-focused on results and perfection. You will be geared towards moving along this journey by yourself as you feel isolated in your ambition or exploration, so don't fear your solitude now, as your intuition will be heightened at this period to help you move in the right direction. Focus on merging this new knowledge with a reformed approach to your mental and physical well-being, as the chances of being imbalanced and further causing yourself discomfort and injury can be prominent. As Saturn has been retrograde in your 11th house, you have already been experiencing a distance from your peers and friends within your network circle. So rather than trying to hold on to an expired connection, rather focus your energy on making the connections you have within your community stronger and aligned with your new beliefs and values. Work towards strengthening your mediums of creating greater financial gains for yourself by working on your knowledge and skills. This will help you also to find a crowd which is more aligned with your interests and hence sparking acquaintance and camaraderie. Don't try to find love and emotional support within your comfort zone. Explore uncharted territories as shown to you during this period of Venus going retrograde in your fourth house. You will be disenchanted about your ideals on love during this time period and will have to focus on relying on your own self for emotional support or regulation you expected to receive from your relationships or even family. The cumulative aspects of Jupiter and Saturn retrograde on your Mercury retrograde in the fifth house shows that you will have to reconsider your identity in relation to your creative interests and romantic relationships. You have to work on surrendering your need of control and just enjoy going on a journey to rediscover your interests, beliefs, and relations with friends, family, or romantic partners. As Mars will be in your sixth house with Sun and also impacting your first house with its eighth aspect, it is a clear indication to not let criticisms and constructive analysis overpower your need of evolving and transformation of your identity. Be fearless and focused on overcoming your fears and surrender to the Jupiterian benevolent powers to guide you in the right direction. For you, the planetary ruler of your sign, Venus, has been retrograde for a while now, and this must have had a significant impact on your relationship with self in terms of how productive and hardworking you have been with your work commitments. This period of time has redefined how you associate the results of your efforts with your own self-worth. You must disassociate them and learn to appreciate the process despite the outcome rather than killing all the joy in the work by being critical and competitive. This ties in with the themes that will present themselves as Jupiter goes retrograde in your 12th house, pushing you to surrender to the art of slowing down to discover if the hurdles that you face now can be turned to redirect into a better path for yourself. Let go of the need of perfection and rather focus on accepting and embracing your subconscious and intuition. You will figure out the exact path for yourself if you remove distraction and explore further for answers within your own self rather than relying on what your family or loved ones have to say about the matter. Believe in your own potential because despite the challenges or roadblocks that Saturn retrograde is bringing into your professional prospects, you will move forward with being able to fulfill your greatest desires as Rahu will soon move into your 11th house, making you focus on expanding your monetary gains and network circle to achieve greater career milestones. Don't be attached to who you think you are by obsessing and analyzing your interests and relationships, but rather move on to going more so with the flow of things so that you can attract better opportunities and acquaintances than you ever expected in the first place. Focus on enriching your friendships more now rather than just your romantic relationships. The cumulative aspect of Jupiter and Saturn retrograde on the Mercury retrograde will make you redefine how you pursue your creative interests simultaneously with your professional commitments to be able to achieve a better work-life balance and fulfillment of your emotional need of comfort and safety. This is further corroborated as Mars and Sun get conjunct in your fifth house, making you be persistent with the exploration of how your creative pursuits align with your desire of excitement, fun, and an assured self-identity. Make sure you are researching your financial investments thoroughly, especially in speculative riskier instruments, as chances of your fears becoming a reality might come true as financial losses. For you, during this period of time, we see that there is a major effect because of this planet that rules your sign, that is Mercury, being retrograde in conjunction with Sun in your third house. And this goes to show that this is a time period wherein you are really contemplating as to how your efforts are really materializing into the outcomes that you desire, and how much hard work are you really being able to put behind the kind of dreams or the vision that you have for yourself, or even the creative pursuits that you have been wanting to follow. So all of these themes can come about wherein you start to reconsider how you're able to ideate and communicate about the things that you want to do, about the things that you're planning to work on, or the things that you're currently already working towards. And these can be especially in terms of your pursuit of an higher education, also regarding your learnings of spiritual, religious, or philosophical texts, and how you want to reform your outlook towards these things. It can also be about how you're really working towards establishing a structured and safeguarded financial investment plan so that you are able to expand on your financial gains. And this is further also corroborated because your Venus retrograde was happening in your second house. So both of these houses being activated by these two benefic planets definitely go to show that you are right now in a phase where you're really starting to contemplate as to how you're able to stabilize your financial income right now, and also be able to expand on the gains possible by probably investing your money into things that are able to compound at a faster rate than you usually would have been able to acquire. You are going to be troubled a little bit regarding the efforts that you're able to put into when it comes to your financial investments, your financial security, as well as how you're able to really materialize your efforts when it comes to knowledge in the sense of educational pursuits, as well as knowledge in the sense of your own pursuit regarding learnings of spiritual, religious, or philosophical ideals, beliefs, and things like that. So these kind of things are really going to be central for you right now. So money and anything relating to your educational pursuits is something that you have to focus on. And rather than beating yourself up over the fact that you are right now in a phase where you feel not as self-confident about the efforts that you're putting into something, the kind of outcomes that are coming, even though you might have been putting your best efforts. Because you have to realize that this is the time period wherein you can sit back and try to analyze what is going wrong in your approach so that you're able to formulate a better plan going forward, and that will be able to materialize what kind of outcomes you wish to be able to perceive right now. So rather than the Mars, which is currently in your fourth house, and further down the line when Sun also goes and gets conjunct with it, it is going to make you feel restless when it comes to your emotional regulation, because you might feel very agitated regarding the loss of particular results that you're not able to achieve right now. Be able to materialize in precise outcomes and precise results is not happening. So your perfectionism or your need to be able to control is not going to materialize properly. And this can lead to agitation, this can lead to emotional distress. So you need to be able to let go of this mirage of being able to control everything, and rather than that, you need to take a step back, align yourself with the planetary energies right now so that you're able to really contemplate and reverse engineer what might be going wrong right now, so that when these planets slowly start to go back into the direct motion, you have a much clearer idea as to what kind of things might work for you, and hence you'll be able to move forward at a much smoother rate because you have done the cost benefit analysis, or whatever we can call it, so that you have checked the pros and cons of whatever actions you're currently taking and how you can manifest them into a better outcome. For you, this time period can prove to be extremely frustrating or agitating in terms of the kind of roadblocks you're able to face with your professional prospects and your career moves, because you feel that right now during this time period, the kind of planetary energy which is manifesting is creating the sort of changes and the dynamism within the kind of environment you're exposed to at work during this time period, wherein it will get harder for you to be able to move on an expected charted career path or the kind of prospects that you see professionally. So this is a time period wherein you can feel a sense of being out of control when it comes to the kind of transformations or unexpected changes that you're seeing in your work environment. And this can be especially true when it comes to the kind of mentors or the kind of superiors that you have at your workplace. And this can cause you a sort of tussle between authority and yourself. And this is where you have to focus on not feeling so agitated or out of control, because there is not a precise outcome you're able to manifest during this time when it comes to your career. You have to let go of this sense of feeling like everything around you is going to exactly pan out how you want it to be, because Saturn retrograde any which way is exposing you to a sort of energy where it is going to bring you challenges in the form of unexpected events, and this is going to cause major transformations if you accept and embrace the kind of changes you're being exposed to right now. Otherwise, it will cause you more and more trouble, because if you're not accepting of these changes and redirection, you are going to suffer if you do not see clearly if the kind of environment that you're exposed to is something that you really want to embrace, or do you want to change and redirect when it comes to, let's say, if you have some tussle with your colleagues or your superiors. If you really want to figure out currently wanting to be in that environment, do you think it is going to pan out in a way that you would finally want to materialize your career or professional prospects, or would you rather want to be able to redirect your efforts and attention to a different or a newer prospect? So these are the kind of things you have to take stock of during this time, and do not be so harsh or critical regarding your own efforts right now, because in a sense it is not necessary that your efforts itself are causing the kind of professional problems that you face right now. It can be much farther away from what you have in your own control at this point. So rather than beating yourself up over the kind of efforts or the kind of outcome that you have been able to produce, you have to much so be more so able to focus on how you would like to figure out what are the future prospects of the work that you're doing right now, and if you're really wanting to be immersed in that work and be able to recalibrate your approach towards probably moving ahead within the professional ladder. Now we also see that because of the Venus retrograde being in your first house itself, so this could have caused a major reckoning when it comes to your relationships, not just with other people but also with your own self. And this could have had a major impact on your emotions, and how do you deal with those kind of disagreements that come about in these things. So this is something where you have to be able to center yourself and be able to really work towards balancing your emotional responses towards these kind of changes when it comes to your relationships to other people and even your own relationship to self, and how you basically view yourself, and not let others' perception of you weigh so heavy on your own perception that you start to see yourself from other people's eye and take in the negativity that they might project on you. So be able to disassociate from what others think and focus on what you want for yourself, as well as be able to focus on your finances and your family right now, because there is a chance wherein you need to be able to communicate in an open fashion with them when it comes to your finances, when it comes to probably if you're really thinking of moving ahead from some profession, or you want to recalibrate or redirect yourself towards some other prospect of profession, you should be able to take stock of what financial security and safety do you have currently to be able to make that transition or not? And regarding that, also be able to speak to your family if you want to make those changes and if you want their emotional support. For you, the planet that rules your sign, which is Sun, is currently conjunct Mercury retrograde in your first house. This goes to show that you are right now in a period wherein you are contemplating or reconsidering what kind of perception you have regarding your own personality, your own interests, and how does that amalgamate into the kind of perception that others have of you as well. So you are right now thinking about, okay, how am I able to really project the kind of interests that I have, the kind of creative pursuits that I want to follow or that I already fulfill, and how is that really tying into the kind of satisfaction that I have myself as well, and also how that is being projected to the outside world and how people are able to perceive those things about my personality and my interests as well. And this is something that you have to be able to chart for yourself without being influenced by, let's say, your partners, be it romantic or business partners, as well as people that you have around you in your surroundings in a different sort of educational pursuit than you, or a different sort of knowledge or learning aspect than you, and even the kind of people that you have around you who are of a different spiritual, religious, or philosophical belief set ideals than you. So rather than being able to be influenced by these kind of groups of people, it's much better that you take a stock of your own identity, of your own interests, of your own personality by going inwards rather than trying to control all of these things and your perception outwards. Rather than figuring out, oh, how am I trying to project my personality, is this something that people will like or not about me? This is the time wherein you have to really think about if you really like your own self, if you feel that the kind of work that you're doing, the kind of interests that you have is really fulfilling you, rather than thinking how this is going to project on others. So this is the time wherein you have to take stock of these things rather than focusing on how your perception and personality is being projected outwards. This is a time period wherein you should consider really embracing and being able to immerse yourself in the imaginative pursuit and the creative pursuit of your artistic abilities and creative abilities. Because with your Venus being retrograde in your 12th house and now being currently direct, this is going to be beneficial for you to be able to really feel much more at center emotionally. So you can really be able to channelize your emotions through your art, to be able to really possibly even be in a space wherein shopping or expending money on things that you want to can also bring you emotional satisfaction. But keeping that in mind, you also have to take a stock of how your finances are really being projected right now, because with this Mars and Sun eventually being in your second house is definitely going to project an energy wherein you will feel driven to really be able to understand how possibly even these creative pursuits that you have or the interests that you have regarding different varied things can really be channelized into creating a financial resource for yourself to be able to stabilize your financial incomes and to be able to probably materialize better financial results for yourself, and probably even be able to create better business prospects with. So this is a time period wherein you really need to be able to figure out if the kind of interests, if the kind of creative pursuits that you're following is really going to materialize for you however you wish to do that. And also, is it bringing you an emotional satisfaction wherein you feel satisfied despite even just the monetary resource income regarding that whole prospect? This is the last leg wherein Rahu is going to be in your 9th house. And this is a perfect time period wherein you can really focus on being able to channelize and being able to understand these kind of conundrums or questions that you have through the exploration of your spiritual, religious, or philosophical beliefs as well, because these might also be able to guide you and basically the learnings that you need to undertake to be able to manifest these kind of desires and the kind of pursuits and interests that you want to take up. For you during this time period, we see that the planet that rules your sign, which is Mercury, is currently retrograde, that too in the 12th house in conjunction with Sun. So what this goes to show that you are on a path right now of solitude, wherein you are trying to isolate yourself from external influences to be really able to decipher what is it that you really currently want to be doing, right? And this is further corroborated because Mars, and eventually as Sun moves towards this sign in the second half of the month, you will see that with the conjunction of Mars and Sun in your first house, this is really going to make you critically analyze your own strengths and your own weaknesses and how your interests are basically going to align with the kind of identity, with the kind of personality that you want to be keeping and probably want to be working on as well. The kind of aspects of your own identity that you probably do not accept or you don't really like, you might try to be critical and analytical about figuring out how to deal with these things to be able to optimize the best possible outcome for you at this point. Despite these professional challenges that you're facing and the uncertainty regarding those problems that you're facing at this point need not necessarily be what is influencing your self-identity as well, because there is a chance wherein the kind of unexpected events which are taking place with regard to ability that you feel you have when it comes to the knowledge, when it comes to the grasp on concepts and things which are required for you to be able to move ahead in your professional ladder and your career prospects, can feel like it is difficult to achieve those things, to be able to grasp those concepts. But that does not necessarily mean that that inability to be able to really fully grasp those things is what makes you incapable as a person itself, right? So your whole identity must not be just the fact that how functional or optimizing you can be with regards to the result oriented approach that you generally seem to keep. So try to disassociate your professional prospects and the kind of learnings associated with it from how you really view yourself. So even though you can feel like your professional prospects are not panning out exactly how you would want it to, learn to let go of certain control and critical analysis and rather embrace the message that those challenges are really trying to present to you. So be it in the phase of, okay, what kind of learnings or what kind of courses you can undertake to be able to probably upskill yourself in order to deal with the uncertainty or the deal with the kind of unexpected changes which are happening in your environment at this point, so that you are not going to succumb yourself by isolating yourself and not communicating about your issues, but rather embrace the kind of community you have around you and to be able to talk about the kind of challenges you might be facing right now, so that possibly someone in your friends group or your network circle can actually help you figure out what is the best course of action for you to take when it comes to your professional prospects and even your learnings and things like that. Because with Venus being retrograde, you could have felt that you are not able to connect with your network circle, you feel isolated within your friends group. But this is the time period, because Venus has not gone direct, you have to find that support within the kind of village that you have around you, so that you're able to derive some sort of tension as well as redirection in a way that helps you to be able to be less critical about yourself and rather more accepting of your challenges, but focusing on redirection through learnings and upskilling yourself and working on however you wish to move forward rather than being skeptical and critical about those things. For you, this is the time period wherein you will have to let go of how others are going to be influencing your personality, your outlook, your identity, and your purpose, because you are inclined to be able to redirect your own path by being influenced or by taking into consideration the opinions of, let's say, your romantic partners, also your business partners, as well as your acquaintances and friends and network circle. And because all of these aspects are being currently influenced in a retrograde fashion, wherein your fifth house of romantic partnerships is being redirected by Saturn being retrograde there, then your seventh house of romantic partnerships as well as your business partnerships is being redirected because Jupiter is going retrograde there, as well as now because your Mercury retrograde and as well as Sun currently is in a space of your 11th house, redirecting the energy that you have regarding your network circles as well as your friends group. So all of these things that generally tend to influence you is where you have to let go of the need to be able to harmonize with everybody, to be able to balance out the energies of everyone, to be people pleasing to everyone, because all of these tendencies are not working in your favor. You really need to take a stock of how people, despite the best that you do, sadly do disappoint your expectations. And rather than continuing to work on balancing out everyone's misgivings and everyone's shortcomings, it's best that you focus on how you want to be fulfilling your own needs and filling your own cup. And this also goes to show that because your Sun and Mars eventually will be conjunct in your 12th house, even though you might feel a need to isolate yourself and a need to be able to deal with all this conflict and these disturbing emotions and feelings by yourself, you need to be able to let go of the anger that you keep inside you because you feel disappointed within all of these aspects, with all of these relationships in your life at this point. So rather than bottling these things up and isolating yourself and not talking to anybody about it, it is best that you try to take stock of how each and every relationship in your life is, how basically these things can be made better if you actually go up to them and speak to them about how things are not working in your favor or how you don't feel satisfied in those equations and relationships. And if you feel like there is no recourse or there is no sort of reform that can take place despite the communication that you undertake, then you just have to be able to let go of those relationships or those equations because they are not going to be serving your best interests. This is further corroborated because right now you have your Ketu and Rahu on the 7th and 1st axis. And as this is the last month that this is going to be there, as further Ketu will move into your 12th house and Rahu into your 6th house, you will start to feel this need to be able to re-immerse yourself into the whole atmosphere of being able to work towards making yourself better, trying to work on healing yourself, rebuild your relationship with yourself through working on healing yourself, working on making your professional prospects better. And this is also corroborated because Venus, your planetary lord, was currently retrograde until this month in your 10th house. So there might have been things which could have been challenging even in your workspace. So this is the time period wherein you have to take stock of, okay, what do I really need to do in order to be professionally proficient in my workspace as well as feel fulfilled by the kind of career or the kind of efforts that I'm undertaking in my professional prospects. And this is going to really help you in the next 18 months as Rahu goes through your 6th house to be able to fulfill the kind of professional visions that you have for yourself and the dreams that you have for yourself to be able to be professionally doing the best that you can. So rather than pouring your energy into others, focus on how you want to be fulfilling yourself professionally, especially, but as well as also focusing on healing yourself when it comes to your health as well as your financial prospects as well. For you, this is the time period wherein you are going to feel the constraint and the sort of pressure that comes about in your work environment and your professional prospects, as the things relating to your relations with your work colleagues or even your superiors at work is going to become quite tantamount in a way that the kind of disruption in your relationships will come to a boiling point, as your Mercury retrograde as well as Sun is going to be conjunct in your 10th house of career, as well as Jupiter now is retrograde in your 6th house of your work environments and your disputes and things like that. So definitely the energy that is being exhibited right now is of the sense wherein you might feel that things professionally are not aligned with your expectations, and it's kind of out of control, or just seems to be going in a space which is much more against you than working for you. And this comes about especially in terms of the network circle that you have around you in your workplace. And this is further shown by the fact that your planet that rules your sign, which is Mars, is going to be present in your 11th house and is further going to be conjunct with Sun in the latter part of the month. So this is definitely going to be the under theme wherein you are going to dispute with the people around you at this point, because you will feel isolated. You are going to feel in a way that people seem to be plotting against you and having the kind of intentions which are not in your best interests. So these kind of feelings might emerge wherein you might feel quite off balance when it comes to the kind of people you would like to depend on, or the kind of group that you have around you wherein you could have cultivated better emotional response or just connections with them. And this is exhibited because your Saturn retrograde is in your 4th house. So it goes to show that all of this tension is going to be exhibited on your mental health. This can even affect your relations with your family, as the sort of distrust and dissatisfaction kind of seeps into that part of your equation and life as well. And that is something that you need to be careful of. And as Venus also was retrograde in this month up until the initial part of the month in your 9th house, which goes to show that you might be feeling jilted in a way by the sort of morals or the sort of religious, spiritual, or philosophical beliefs that you have held up until this point. And you might have rethought about your perceptions and your beliefs and your ideals and your values during this time period. And this is the time when you can imply the kind of revelations that you have found in these scenarios and probably try to create a much more optimistic sort of outlook, rather than, just succumbing to the dejection of the kind of things which are not in your control. So rather than doing that, it's much better to try to inculcate a sort of positive response or a positive outlook to what the situation is trying to show you, rather than trying to be disruptive and work against the tide. It's better to work along the planetary energies and try to reform the kind of people you have around you, as well as the kind of professional prospects that you have, rather than trying to just hunker down and stay in a toxic situation. It is much better to try to, upskill yourself, even try to move ahead, gain knowledge, gain your experience, and, let bygones be bygones and try to move ahead. And this also goes to show that your public perception is something that you need to work on, because all of this can create a sort of not great impression of you. And further down the line, you will have to make sure that you are trying to keep your best interest at the forefront when you work towards rekindling or reforming the situation so that your health and your mental health does not suffer because of all this tension and the kind of disruption which is caused by the retrograde energies of these planets. For you, during this period of the month, we see that you will be coming across a sort of frustration when it comes to not being satisfied with the outcomes of your efforts with regards to your creative pursuits, your interests relating to that, and exploring those things, and even trying to be more efficient and productive with your educational pursuits, and even your quest to learn more about your morals and ideals in conjunction with the spiritual, philosophical, and religious ideals that you seem to be imbibing right now. So there is this theme wherein there is this sense of frustration because the kind of outcomes that you want to achieve by doing these things are not exactly what is coming about, because all of these three, houses of yours, which is the third house, the fifth house, and the ninth house, are all getting impacted by the retrograde energies of different planets. So this definitely goes to show that you are going to have to navigate this time period wherein, rather than just trying to focus on, okay, what is the result that I want to create when it comes to indulging in imbibing knowledge, be it regarding the kind of creative pursuits you have or regarding the kind of knowledge you want to imbibe with regards to upskilling yourself or even your educational pursuits. You have to focus on not just being result oriented but also effort oriented, wherein you have to even enjoy the process of being able to indulge in your creative pursuits, being able to learn about the things that you're interested in, and basically upskill yourself while also being able to have fun in the process of doing so. So that is something that you have to be cognizant of. And even when it comes to your romantic relationships, you have to be able to not be in the gray zone, but try to come out of it and be very succinct with the kind of terms that you want to have going forward. Because with your Venus retrograde happening in your 8th house, up until this point in the initial part of the month, you would have felt these turbulent feelings regarding, possession, regarding jealousy, regarding all these negative connotations when it comes to romantic relationships. And this must have had an impact on your emotional well-being as well when you are in a relationship. Hence, you have to kind of reverse engineer these feelings and be able to reach at a healthy space wherein you are able to express your infatuation, your love for someone without muddling it with feelings that you feel like you cannot express in a way which is open and flowing conversationally at both ends. We also see that right now with the Mars being in your 10th house, as well as in the latter part of the month, Sun getting also conjunct there. This seems to be a good aspect for you, at least when it comes to your professional prospects, because if you are analytical and you are critically being able to analyze the kind of pros and cons regarding whatever situation you are in professionally, you will be able to find a way to overcome all these things eventually. So not just the fact that all these feelings are coming about basically with regards to distrust of people around you. You have to also be able to take stock of what is the situation, what kind of support you have, what can you really focus on when it comes to, exhibiting your authority at work, and to be able to amalgamate that with your professional prospects. And if you want to be moving forward with the kind of path you are on currently, or trying to redirect it into a different place, and possibly being able to merge it with the kind of creative interests or the kind of educational pursuits you're currently taking, and basically the upskilling that you're doing to be able to create and cultivate that into your professional means as well, if you would like to do that. For you, during this time period, a major theme is going to be in relation to your relationship with your family, your idea of comfort, your idea of security, and how you're able to basically cultivate those things through the kind of dynamics you have with your family, with your romantic partners, and as well as with your monetary outcomes as well. Sense of unpredictability or the sense of sudden transformations which are happening in your relations with your family, with your romantic and business partners, which is creating this sense of fusion, because you're not able to really decipher what kind of dynamic is being created for you right now when it comes to being able to predict the outcome of your efforts. This is going to be difficult for you to make peace with, because you will see that there is this sense of, especially when it also comes to your relations with even the prospects of earning money, which is going to be creating this feeling of inadequacy when it comes to even being able to support the kind of people you have or hold important in your life, be it your family members or your romantic partners or your business partners and ventures and things like that. So this is where you will have to take stock of where your alignment is, what your priorities are, and how you would like to inculcate the people that you have in your life in consonance with these priorities and these preferences that you have in your life. Because this is a time period wherein you will have to reform the sort of morals, ideals, or the sort of outlooks you have in relation to the religious, spiritual, philosophical belief systems, as Mars and Sun are going to be conjunct in your 9th house. And this is a time period wherein you can put your analytical abilities and your critical thinking processes into figuring out if your current set of belief systems and values are really aiding the sort of relationships you want to keep in your life. So you need to be able to take stock of how you can put your efforts into reforming these relationships, and if you feel like your effort in doing so is not reciprocated or it is not being favorable in a way that you would feel satisfied with, then you should definitely think about moving on from such dynamics which serve to be non-beneficial to you right now. For you, this is a time period wherein you are going to feel a sense of doubt and a sense of questioning regarding what your identity and your ideals and your personality plays a part in the kind of relationships you have, in the kind of efforts that you're really able to take in order to create the kind of outcomes for yourself that you would like to achieve, the dreams you would like to achieve. And this is a time period wherein you will have to self-introspect as to what part do you play in the kind of disappointments that you feel when it comes to your romantic relationships or even your business relationships. Because with the interplaying retrograde energies within your 1st house, your 3rd house, and your 7th house, you are going to feel a sense of isolation from the kind of people that you have around you, wherein you are going to feel that fundamentally you're not able to rely on them, and this can definitely come about as an issue regarding communication, because you're not able to effectively communicate and create working channels of communication within your community, within your network circle, within the kind of relationships that you harbor around you. And this can create a misunderstanding and a sense of isolation, which is what you will have to reconsider as to how you're able to communicate your needs, wherein you feel fulfilled within the kind of relationships you have, or within even the kind of pursuits that you're undertaking, wherein it can be any creative pursuit or some sort of learning that you're undertaking right now in a way to upskill yourself and to be able to generate the sort of business operations or the sort of outcomes that you would like to achieve, to be able to monetize on those learnings, those knowledge, or those skills that you are developing currently. So these are the kind of things that you will have to be able to work towards and work along with the kind of retrograde planetary energies which are currently exhibiting during this time period. We also see that Venus was retrograde in your sixth house up until this point, and this is a time period wherein you would have felt that your relationship was undergoing a sort of scrutinization or a sort of critical analysis, wherein you felt dissatisfied with the kind of love or the kind of care that you were able to receive or to give in that sort of an equation. And now you will have to be able to understand and analyze as to how or what has been lacking in the kind of relationships you have. And if there is something, then you will have to ideate on how to probably repair it, in the sense that you are going to work towards achieving a better balance, or you will either have to be able to communicate if you feel that there is a chance to be able to resurrect or resuscitate the sort of breakage or the kind of misunderstandings that you feel within your relationships with others. And there has to be a sense of unsecrecy, a sense of openness, because when Mars and Sun are in your eighth house, it can create this sort of sense of isolation, a sense of going deeper within mystery and a shroud of this darkness which is created basically in a way that you feel not as open as you could have been. And this is where most of your problems lie, because your communication is lacking regarding the problems that you're facing right now. So most of all, the thing that you need to work on during this time period is to be able to give up the hang-ups that you're feeling around communicating regarding your issues, and to be able to self-reflect as to how you are playing a part of whatever things are feeling like, they're not in your control, or they're not going according to how you would like them to. For you, a major part of the theme with relation to all the retrograde energy which is manifesting in this month is definitely going to be in the sphere of your finances, because all the houses which are getting activated with retrograde energy, be it the 12th house of losses, or the second house of financial gains and security, and the sixth house of financial debt and disputes, all of them are in relation to somehow financial undertones, which is why you will have to be extremely aware of how you are dealing with your finances at this point, because there is a chance that the decisions that you take, if ill-informed, can create a lot of damage within the kind of chances that you would have otherwise been able to acquire and be able to expand on your financial gains or secure your existing finances as well. And this is further corroborated because Venus, which is the planet that signifies all themes relating to opulence, money, and abundance, was retrograde up until this point in your fifth house, again in house which is which has the themes in relation to finances when it comes to investments in speculative gains and riskier instruments. So you have to be very assured and properly researched when it comes to being able to make such investments wherein the risks do not outweigh the gains that you make, because it is highly likely that if you do so, you will have to bear the brunt of the kind of losses that you would not expect otherwise. And you also have to be careful of the debt that you're amassing during this time period, and to be able to repay that back in a way that you would not dip too much into your financial savings, and neither would you play such a gamble that you would have to rather deal with losses. So you have to basically go in a balanced approach and be able to figure out how to balance on a tightrope of your finances at this point, because one wrong move can really create a lot of damage for you. And this is a time period wherein you can feel that the kind of people that you have around you can at times feel detrimental to the kind of impact that you want to create for yourself, even in terms of business, because we see that the energy of Sun and Mars, which will be conjunct in your 7th house, will create a sense of dissatisfaction when it comes to the relationships that you have cultivated with people around you, because you can feel that the support that you require from them during this time period, wherein you feel this uncertainty with regards to your finances, can be missing. So that is one thing that you can feel left out of. And also when it comes to your business prospects, you can feel that because of this tardiness with the money matters and things like that, you are not able to really invest and be able to turn a profit within your business ventures as well. So a lot of your issues right now are all surrounding your finances. It also is surrounding the kind of relationships you cultivate around you, be it your romantic relationships, your familial relationships. So you have to be sure that you're able to smooth over any sort of disagreements that you're getting right now when it comes to your value systems, your morals, your learnings, your knowledge, whatever you can call it. But you have to be careful that you're not discarding your relationships completely without being able to really analyze how things are working out. And if you feel that it is not balancing or bringing a sort of harmony or peace or aiding in that process within your life, then you will have to critically analyze what to let go of and what to keep, and the effort that you would like to exhibit in doing so. But the majority of your analysis and your effort has to go into figuring out the best case scenario possible for a profit and loss analysis, and to be able to be the most profitable and safe when it comes to your financial investments at this point. And with discussing all of these personalized predictions as well as cumulative predictions for all of the zodiac signs, we have come to the end of this video. I hope the discussion and the predictions have given you a memorandum or a sort of map as to how to navigate during these challenging energetically planetary movements and transitions. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with the next video. Until then, take care you all, and please don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel to stay updated with all the new videos that are released on the channel.